Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kesa Sandwich and I'd like to welcome you to my League of Legends champion guide with Irelia, the Will of the Blades. This is my, I think, favorite champion, and in my opinion there are two ways to play her properly. The first is DPS and the second is tank, and in this guide we're gonna take a closer look at the DPS part of Irelia. I'm gonna show you masteries, runes, builds, and of course some in-game stuff, and we start with how Irelia works and her skills. And here we are in my little custom game, and I'm gonna show you Irelia's spells now. Her passive is called Ionian Fervor, and it's gonna reduce CC on you by enemy champions being around you, up to 40% with 3 enemy champions being around you. Irelia's Q is called Blade Surge. This is an instant attack U which deals a good amount of physical damage, scaling 1-to-1 on attack damage. If you finish off your target with Blade Surge, it's gonna refresh its cooldown and give you back the half of its mana cost. Irelia's W is called Heighten or Hitten style, pronounce it whatever way you want to, and it's got an active and a passive. Its passive gonna makes you restore a certain amount of health while hitting enemy champions, minions, or even enemy turrets. Its active gonna make you deal a certain amount of true damage for 6 seconds, I think, yeah, 6 seconds. And the passive is not gonna be lost upon activating this skill. Irelia's E is called Equilibrium Strike, and it's gonna deal a certain amount of magic damage and either stun or slow the enemy target depending on your and his percentage of HP. For example, if I have more HP than my enemy does, I'm gonna slow him. Wait for the cooldown now. And I think I screwed up a bit here. Let him restore some health. Because if I have less HP than he does, I'm gonna stun him. This is what makes Irelia an untower diveable champion. You never ever want to tower dive her except you got 3 or more person. Irelia's ultimate is called Transcendent Blades. It's gonna throw 4 blades to the position of your mouse cursor every time you hit the R button. It's also gonna heal you for 10% of the damage dealt to minions and 20% of the damage dealt to champions. This makes you very useful in team fights, especially if your team has less members than the enemy team does. In the early game phases of the game, you have to fill the role of a beefy off-tank that also does damage. That is why I run that uncommon 14-16-0 mastery page. At the offensive tree I want the armor penetration and this additional attack damage from brute force. That's why I put 2 points in that. On the defensive tree I want the armor and the magic resist, that gives you just some awesome survivability, and this additional 48 health that helps you to stay on your lane a lot longer so that you can buy the items you want to, which I will come to in a later point of this guide. And now we switch over to my rune page, and I'm gonna explain that to you. My DPS Irelia rune page follows the same pattern as my masteries do. For marks I run that armor penetration that improves your Q spell a lot, which helps you to last hit minions on the lane and also to harass your enemies. For seals, I run that mana regen per level. I do that because your Q sucks up some mana and you want to stay on lane as long as possible to buy these items. For glyphs, I run flat magic resistance because of the survivability of it. Why do I use flat magic resistance? I already told you that you have to be the beefy off-tank that deals damage in the early game stage, not in the late game. In the late game your items do that for you. That's why I just use the flat ones. For quintessences I go straight attack damage to flat and 1 per level. Why do I use that 1 per level? That is easy, because at level 9 the attack damage per level quintessence does the same amount of attack damage as the flat ones. And at level 9 you want to have your Q maxed, then you need this attack damage. And it spreads out further in the late game. These two flat attack damage is just for the early game to have that more damage output for minions to last hit. This is my item build for DPS Irelia. I mentioned it a lot of times before and I will mention it again. You have to be tanky in the early game. That's why I start off with Adorance Blade. It gives you just some nice health and health regen per 5. You will need that. When I go base for the first time, I want to buy my first boots just for the mobility of it, and Sheen, because Sheen is a wonderful item for your Q. Your Q is a spell that will activate the passive of Sheen, and the physical damage it deals will proc this passive. So it gives you a lot of burst damage in the early game. Now I build Mercury strats because they synergize optimally with your passive. If you're standing in a full enemy team, or I think 4-person, and you have Mercury strats, you have 75 tenacity, which means 75% reduction of CC, and this is just awesome. I continue with building Trinity Force one by one, and if you have finished that, you have your core builds. Then you have a great damage output and some survivability too. I continue with Spirit Visage. It is just an optimal item for Irelia. It is great for the passive of your W, it gives you way more heal, and also the passive of your ultimate is improved by that. I continue with Wit's End because it just gives awesome magic resistance when you attack people, and the attack speed it gives you will buff your W again. That's the same reason why I built the Black Cleaver. It gives you that attack speed that's just awesome for your W, armor penetration, which is good for your Q and your ultimate and just your auto attacks, and that attack damage, true. As the last item, when you sell your Doran's Blade, you want to have some survivability, and what you buy there depends on your enemy team. Guardian Angel is always a good decision, that's why I go for that most of the times, but if you encounter a mage heavy team, you want to buy Banshee's Veil, because it's just an awesome item. Okay, now that we finished all that theory, let's go into the game and see some awesome Irelia action, I think. This clip is a nice little example how you can use your Q to farm away a whole minion wave. You wait for one minion to get low, and then you just Q from one to another every time it is low. This makes you able to farm a whole minion wave very quickly and get your last hits all the time. In this little clip I tried to tower dive Shen, Q on him and use my E on him. That was a big mistake, because I could have E on Garen, stunned him and prevented him from doing a lot of damage, which you will see in the clip now, and I would have survived that tower dive. But in this case he did a lot of fucking damage with his spinning thing and I died. This little clip is another example how you can use your E to stun people and guarantee a kill for your team. You can see Veigar getting chased by Katarina. Our team goes in, Veigar flashes out, and as Katarina comes closer, I'm gonna go towards her, stun her with my E, and my team gets the kill. When I get chased down by Garen now, I wait for my E to get off cooldown, I stun him to prevent more damage from him, and get out as quickly as I can. Irelia does not care if there are minion waves between her and the turret she wants to push. Why? Because she just uses her ultimate to kill the whole minion wave in seconds, and what stays is farmed away with her Q. Now she can push the turret very easily. Let us get to a basic combination for Irelia to fight. Caitlyn is overextended because Alice, my friend, is standing at this bush over there. I unfortunately run into Caitlyn's trap, but now I initiate with my Q, slow her with my E, and immediately activate my true damage to kill her off. As Garen chases me with his spin, I stun him to prevent further damage and get out. In this clip, Caitlyn and Garen are overextended and I come from the back to kill them. I initiate again on Caitlyn with my Q, E and W combination and try to finish her off with my ultimate, just like Annie before. As my Q gets off cooldown, I just jump on her and kill her. That's the way you always want to fight. Finally, an example why I love Irelia so much. You can even win if you're outnumbered. Why? You will see that later. Caitlyn is overextended again, and I come from the back to kill her again, just like the clip before. Old combination, ultimate, and suddenly Shen appears. But I don't care and fight because I know I can. As my E gets off cooldown, I get the kill, flash out, and survive, thanks to my W passive. Okay, this was my little Irelia guide. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave me a comment and tell your friends about it. If you want to play with me, you can add me in-game and write to me. If you have any questions or anything, you can PN me, no problem with that. And everything I have to say now is, have fun playing Irelia, owning people. Thanks for watching.